Ladies and gentlemen, what the world has been waiting for, what the world needs now, the one, the only, amazing, original, Johnny Blaze. Often imitated, but never duplicated. There's Johnny.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you all to the amazing original Johnny Blaze Show. It's always great to be here as I blaze right in with my karate kick. Let's have a blazing hot fun time. When I was a kid, my family and I had it rough. We struggled just to get by. Whenever we went to the park, the ducks would throw bread at us. After I finished school, I tried to take whatever job I could get. One job was so bad, I actually started to envy the homeless. Yes, they have to wear the same pair of underpants for the rest of their lives, but they have all the free time in the world. An elementary school teacher was trying to teach her students the difference between right and wrong. She asked the class, "Now, children, if I were to reach into a man's pocket and take all of his wallet and all of his money, what would that make me?" A kid in the front row raised his hand and answered, "My dad's new girlfriend." A student asked his teacher, "What is the most powerful and effective weapon in the world today?" The teacher responded, "There is a weapon that ruins countless lives, but leaves all this building standing." "What's it called?" asked the student. "The New York Stock Exchange." We have a blazing hot fun show with a special guest. He is a multi-talented singer, songwriter, a multi-instrumentalist, and an all-around entertainer. Please give a big warm welcome and say hello to the one and only Johnny Reed.
Hey, Johnny.
Johnny Reed, hey, welcome to the Amazing Original Johnny Blaze Show. How you doing, my friend?
Good. I guess we're in the same time zone, so how are you doing?
I'm doing real good. You?
Good.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're in the Pacific time zone. So we made it a little bit before 9. That's okay. Better early than too late. All right? Okay.
Yeah. I'm just here anyway working. I just stopped doing stuff so I could hang out.
That's great, Johnny. Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to talking to you. It's always, hey, let me know. Give me a rundown about the Johnny Reed Show. Let me know, how did you get started in entertainment and where are you from, Johnny?
Okay, so we're actually on the air now, or we just talking?
We're on now, Johnny.
Okay, so wait, I get my makeup. Wait, no, never mind. Okay, we'll go without that.
Okay.
The Johnny Reed Show, that's what I call my band, which is me. Just me.
So you don't collaborate with anybody, you do it all yourself, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Been doing that for many years. I was involved with many projects over the years, and then I just started recording at home and in my studio, where I did a lot of work for different things. And we can talk about different things later.
Oh.
But I always wrote songs, did things for years, and then just somebody said, "Hey, you should do an album." And I just was doing some songs. You sound like Bob Seger. And I thought, okay, well, then I did a whole set of 2 albums called Rock Dog. Made up a name and put out those 2 albums. That was the beginning of my album recording career.
And that was called, what was that called? Rock
Dog, like RAWK, and like raw rock. That was the idea. And dog, DAWG, just to be fun.
Oh, Rock Dog. Okay.
And that's back in 2002 or 2003. I've got some pictures on the wall here. Here, I'll show you here. Here's a picture. I just take down a picture here. This is Rock.
Well, that's it. Wow, that's Rock Dog.
Yeah, that was it. But I figured nobody really wanted one single person to do it, so I just made up 3 other players. Or actually, they were all made up. And I promoted it, got a lot of radio play, as hired promoters, radio promoters, and did a couple albums, did a follow-up album, because you always have to have a follow-up album. So I did that. I was on radio out here, KLOS. You probably know them. I was in Tower Records on Sunset. I had posters made up around through Hollywood on the poles and things like that. So I did the whole route.
So that sounds very interesting. Yeah, Johnny. You promote everything. You're a multi-instrumentalist. Tell me, how did you self-taught? Are you self-taught? And tell me about describe the different instruments that you play.
Yeah, well, basically a rock musician. I started off with the drums, and then I was in a band when I was young. And then by the time I got to the 8th grade, some people, I don't even know how I knew them, but I guess they were older in high school, found me to be their drummer. So I thought, okay, this is great. I'm playing with the high school guys. I'm in the 8th grade. Then the singer was going to college. And so I was the little kid that knew how to play the drums, I guess. And we played all around the South Bay area of Los Angeles. And as we kept going, then I eventually got a little acoustic guitar. Played a little bit of that. Wasn't really much on guitar. Didn't care too much. But then the keyboard player said, "Okay, come here for a minute. Here, Johnny, just hold your 3 fingers. Just hit these 3 keys." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Now just move that middle finger down. 1. Okay." I go, "Oh, I understand." He goes, "Now just move another finger." Oh, okay. So there was a major to minor. And I found out that, and I said, "That's it." So I went on to play piano that way, just moving fingers and, finding where a chord was and writing songs.
Wow, interesting. So you learned the drums, you learned the guitar by doing that technique, and then you learned other instruments, many instruments.
Yeah, then I got my electric guitar, which I got her right over here. And I guess we have to name our guitars at some point in our life. This is Ginger.
That's a Ginger?
She's been worn. I got her in 1975, I think, or 1976. I've had her ever since. It's my only electric guitar.
And you play rhythm guitar or bass or lead?
I have a bass guitar over here. I've got a copy of a Hofner, like a violin style bass.
Okay.
I play that, and then the keyboard. I can play keyboard bass too if I want to, depending on whatever song it is. I just pick it up and play it. But I love all the instruments. Each one has a different personality.
Interesting. So you play the drums, you play the guitar, you play the piano, you play other instruments too?
Yeah, the bass. So that's it. Mostly, bass guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and the keyboard. And I go from playing piano to like a Hammond B3 sort of a thing.
Oh.
So, and then of course I can play strings on that also, because I don't have all those things to play.
Wow.
But whatever I want to do, I do it.
I think that's awesome, Johnny, that you're self-taught and you're able to do all this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I learned all that. And then I actually went to a 2-year college here, and they had a music program. I said, well, let me go there. I don't want to graduate. I don't want to really go to college, but I want to learn about the music. So I signed into the music program. They got into music theory and learned about Mozart and the scores and all this. And I said, oh, that's what I'm doing. I just did it by ear. You hear music, you absorb it, and then you have a piano. Well, then you start going that way. You start from a tonic and you go up to the 5th and back to the first thing again. And so I already had things like that. So I was ahead.
You were advanced. You were ahead of the class. What school did you go to in the School of Music?
It was the local 2-year college. I never graduated.
No.
I said I just want the knowledge of electronics and music. Those 2 things.
Oh wow.
Those classes, but then I never graduated. I took a day job a summer job with a computer company, just in between classes, I guess. And they said, hey, you're pretty sharp. Why don't you stay here and earn while you learn? So I became a computer expert, fixing computers all over California.
Really?
And at the same time, having my studio. So I kept it going.
You were able to develop not only be a multi-instrumentalist, but even get a studio. You were able to get a studio and then totally do it yourself. That's amazing. Very independent, very resourceful.
Yep. So it really was. I figured those 2 things were hand in hand. Electronics had amplifiers for guitars, and so now I can do everything myself.
That's fantastic. So you're learning. You learn it. You earn and learn as you want.
Yeah,
like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I always kept my studio open and always kept recording at night, having clients come in, recording bands early, or actually not bands, more like songwriters. They would come in and they might have a song, but they didn't know how to play everything. So I would play maybe the drums and the piano and the guitar, and help produce it and put it together for them.
So were you able to teach? Did you teach others everything?
No. Just as for a recording session.
Just okay. Just
We had
recording.
a guy coming down from Washington State. He would fly down here to record with me in my studio. Over the years, he came down several times, and he would say, "Here's my new song." I said, "Okay." I would get the chords or whatever it was to learn it, and we would play the song and record it. And then he'd go back to Washington and tell everybody he'd been to Hollywood and had a big recession there. But it was really down in my studio in Redondo Beach.
Oh, that's really neat. You're in Redondo Beach. Yeah. Fantastic. That's a former guest was in Redondo Beach, like I told you. And also an Elvis tribute artist that was on my show, James King Crook, is also from Redondo Beach. Yeah.
Okay. It's a great place to live.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a nice place. I'm sure. Sure it's very nice.
For a long time. So this is my studio right here. It's down below my house, kind of on the side of the hill. So it's very
below your house. Wow. Did you build this yourself, or did you hire somebody to make the studio for you?
A couple of friends helped me make the studio, but I knew about how to make a studio, and I did a lot of research. I did a lot of different things. I mean, that's one thing about me. I've done a lot of things, but about studio construction, I learned that. So it's a whole set of double walls inside here, and there was no light at all. I had two doors that shut. But after years, MIDI came out, the digital recording, then my live drums. I now have some digital drums that I play. I didn't need to be so quiet now. It just blocks out 90% of things. But anyway, I put the whole thing together. Just didn't want to bother any neighbors or have neighbors bother me, so I could do anything I want.
Is it soundproof so people they aren't disturbed by it?
Yeah, in the old days, it was completely soundproof, but now I've opened up, you can't see them up. There's a pair of French doors here that opens up to the patio. So I can open that up and I can play with headphones on and,
So you don't have to worry about neighbors getting upset or anything that it's too loud or this or that. Nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. You're a man of many talents, Johnny.
Yeah, so I've got it all really hooked in nicely. I've done quite a bit of things, working on my own music and then working with the telecommunication computer companies. I used to wear a 3-piece suit and,
Do you prefer cover songs or do you prefer original songs or about the same?
I don't do any cover songs. I don't know any songs.
Well, you don't do any cover.
A long time when I started
original.
Right. Everything's been original with me for many, many, many years.
Oh, really? Okay.
When I was with, back, I think maybe in high school, that's when it started. We had a band. We were playing some different songs, maybe little Rolling Stones or, things like that. And then some of the members left, and it was left with me and a guitar player, drums and guitar. And we said, why leave now? Why did they leave now? And we wrote a song called Why Leave Now? And then from then on, it just became just writing songs. That's it. Wow. So I can't, if you said, hey, play me a Beatles song, I might know a chord or two, but I don't know the words. I don't know the whole song of anything. So
what kind of music are you talking about? You prefer, is it rock? Is it folk? Is it jazz? Or it's
well, I grew up in the 60s, so the Beatles were the thing that I saw them on Ed Sullivan Show. And that was, of course, everybody was going wild for that. And then I really taught myself the drums playing that was the Beatles thing. It was pretty simple, but my rock style really came from Jimi Hendrix and Ginger Baker, listening to those. So I played right to those albums, putting the records on and just jamming away, having a great time, and Cream, Disraeli Gears.
So who's your real hero, your real inspiration? Is there anybody in particular, or is it more than one person? As far as singing and songwriting?
Well, the one that really inspired me, I mean, I love all those things from the Beatles thing to the Jimi Hendrix, there's a guy, different camps, but right. I really got into that, the Cream and Disraeli Gears and Hendrix, but also the Beatles thing. So I always had that. But what happened is Paul McCartney came up with the album with the cherries on it. I guess it was called McCartney. And I remember at that time I go, hey, he did this himself. Really? Oh, that was very interesting. And then sometime after that, I got a 4-track TAC recorder and said, let me try some of that. And that was the beginning of me doing multiple tracks.
Oh, really? So Paul McCartney he's your real inspiration for the Beatles.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, actually, I never really studied any groups in any detail. I couldn't really hardly tell you who was in what group. I mean, Mick Jagger was in the Stones, right? But I now I know more about them. But I never really followed that stuff. And the Beatles, I didn't know who was singing which song. I just thought I couldn't tell. It was just great, whatever they were doing. But of course, it was the styles of John was quite different than Paul. And, later on I found out, oh, I see. So now when I write my songs, I just think of a generic Beatles. So it could encompasses the sounds of George Harrison, Paul McCartney, John Lennon at different times, and even Ringo.
How you go about writing a catchy hit song? Is it lyrics come first, or is it melody, or is there any particular that you have? Or
everyone comes different. A lot of things I do, I write whatever type of a phone I have. Doesn't matter what kind of phone it is, but nowadays you can record into them. So I can go down to the beach here, walk along the beach or jog, and I'll stop and I'll think about a beat or something, and I might sing the beat into my song, into my phone, or I might sing a lyric, and it just developed from there. So I might come back. I didn't have to be at the beach. It could have been here. I played something on the guitar. I go, hey, that's kind of nice. So I might start with the electric guitar, put on the recorder, record that a little bit. Then I play the drums to it a little bit. See how that goes. I said, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting an idea how this goes. And then I might record that and then go add something to it or go back. And so the chorus may become the verse, or the verse may become the chorus. I just kind of see where it's going to go, where it feels right, how just flow with it. And that's what I felt that the Beatles really did. And that's why I, go that way.
Well, it's from your experiences, what you're telling me.
Yeah. Yeah, just as you feel it, as you feel where it's going, you go that way and you say, what do you want to say? I don't plan out, but what's going to be a really catchy thing to say exactly? A little bit of that, something that hasn't been said before, maybe. But I don't get too into, I'm going to make a hit song. I'm not into that. I'm just making what I think might be a nice song, a great song, a good song. If you listen to my new album, you'll hear that some of those songs were just happened. I didn't really plan that out, but as it went, I just went with it, and then it became what it was.
I know your 8th album, you just put it out after January, Octa or Infirmity. Describe all about that kind of music and all about that.
Yeah. So Octa or Infinity, that's it. Well, okay, so this is how I do it. And I do this in a lot of things, but anyway, it's my 8th album. So I said, okay, let me just start with the number 8. What's that? The number 8. Okay, great. I go, if you lay that on its side, hey, that's the infinity symbol. Huh. Yeah, I guess it's all in how you look at things. Oh yeah, okay. I'm getting it. How do you see things? Is that a number 8, or do you go further and say, really, that's infinity, that goes forever? So that's what the song became about. The theme developed from that. How do you look at things? So several of the songs mention that, and there's different ways of looking at things. And some of the songs, there's one about, you have a girl, you're looking at a girl. What is that bad? Or are you just looking at a girl because she happens to be attractive? I mean, does that mean you're leaving your wife? No, it just means I'm just looking at something. So each of the songs has its own personality and
has its own meaning. It sounds like. Okay. Do you prefer ballads? Do you prefer really fast songs, or?
Yeah, I think there's one ballad in there. I guess completely the right thing is more of a ballad. But I try to make it an album. It's not just where I'm making one song and I release a single. Here's my hot single. It's an album. So as I finish one song, I go, okay, let's see, where do I want to go from here now? Where do I want to go? So that's when eventually a ballad comes in. And I think about, up tempo is good, but it's not, razor fast.
So on an album, what do you do? About 10 or 12 or 20 songs or something?
I know 10 songs. 10 songs is like 10. I did one album with just 9 songs once. Wow. But most of them are 10. Well, I was going to put more, but I just wanted to get it out. I wanted to get on the road so I can get on to the next one. The COVID thing really put me back.
It did. COVID did. Oh, it did. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How did you handle that? How did you handle it with COVID? Yeah, that was a difficult thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, because my albums, and I've got them here on the wall. Let's see. Yeah, so I did the one before this. I did in 2019, and then I did one in 2017, one in 2015, and it keeps going back. So 2019, I should have one out in 2021. Didn't come out. COVID came. I thought this was going to be great. I'm going to be stranded at home. You can't go out. Perfect. I'm going to be doing great recording. Unfortunately, I've got 2 kids. They had to stay home from school, and my wife had to come back home. And so we had people doing Zoom sessions at home, in the kitchen, in the bedrooms, everywhere. It's like no escape.
Wow.
So he just had
survivor.
to go with it. I just made notes as songs came to me. So I had many notes about things I would do. I always played guitar. I didn't have to plug it in and record, but I kept playing guitars. But it wasn't that massive. I'm putting out a 20-song CD next week or album.
Well, you handled it. You're a survivor. How do you go about promoting yourself now? When you promote your music, your original songs that you write, how do you go about promoting it?
And I've done quite a bit of that. Starting back in the early days with the Rock Dog, there were 2 albums that were Rock Dog. And then I took a break for a few years. I did a lot of different things in the film industry, toy industry. And then I started the Johnny Reed. The Johnny Reed was much different than the Rock Dog. Rock Dog was an irreverent rock. I didn't want to have any philosophical things in there at all. No harmony. This was just going to be rockers from Hollywood. And that's what those 2 albums were. After I took my break, worked with the film industry, somebody said, hey, what about your softer side? That Johnny Reed, why don't you do an album like that? I said, okay, sure. Good idea. So then I have done now, the other 6 albums have been as Johnny Reed, which now have a little more rock into them also. But it was a big change. But back from the first days of Rock Dog, I mean, I've done a lot of things. And what happened is, I worked in the film industry, so independent film industry for several years, and in the Hollywood area. And I was the VP of operations for a company. We acquired films, did other people's films, developed them. We did a film in the Ukraine, co-production. So we hired the heads of all the departments here, sent them over there. They got local people to work on it, released that. And so I did that for several years. The James Dean film never came out, but that was
really
involved with that too. Several films. So I learned a lot of things about what promotion is necessary for doing things.
You work with James Cameron now on Titanic. Tell me, describe all about that.
Yeah, that's another one of those pieces I was telling you about. And the year the Titanic came out, let's see, here's that. I got you. Here's all my references. I don't know if you can see that.
Wow.
But this is the Titanic. I'm not sure. Was that 95? I don't remember the year.
Interesting. What exactly did you do for that, for the James Cameron and the Titanic?
Because of all my computer experience, I had another friend that had done some stuff with James Cameron. And he said, come on in here, Johnny, and help me out on this. And we want to try to do a special thing. Steven Spielberg had done Schindler's List using a remote editing thing from his house. And James Cameron and him have a rivalry. He wants to be up with him. So James Cameron, we had a meeting at his office there in Santa Monica, I think it is, Lightstorm Entertainment. And he said, yeah, what I want to do is I want to sit at my house, and that the Titanic's going to be down the set south in Mexico in Poplar Beach. And then and they built a studio down there that you could shoot over the top of the Titanic and see the actual water behind it. Mm-hmm. So realistic. But anyway, so you could have a station down there, one at his house, one at Lightstorm Entertainment in Santa Monica, one at Digital Domain. He was a part owner of that digital effects company, and one at Stan Winston's Animatronics Center, which is another partner of theirs. Mm-hmm. So we got together, we put this whole system together for them. I had to go down to Mexico to that site myself, and like that. I thought it was going to be a great deal, and it was. It was a great gig. I thought hopefully I'd stay with James Cameron, but unfortunately, I was kind of, a little bit of a guru, but he had his own guru already, and that guru didn't know two gurus in the house.
So what would you say the job you did for him? What would you label that as?
Consultant, yeah.
You're a consultant for James Cameron. Okay, interesting. And you also were the voice of King Kong, right? You can talk to me and describe all about that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was another one. After my career with the independent film, which I'm still involved with that, I was also working with the Monaco Charity Film Festival. Yeah, so I worked with them for several years, and I was doing lots of stuff with them. But then I just came back to my studio Redondo and said, hey, I'm going to be here. Hollywood's a little bit of BS, all the movie stuff. So I said, okay, I'll just rest here. Well, one of the studio owners came down from GMT Studios up in Culver City, and they knew me, and they said, hey, Johnny, we need to do a voiceover for one of our films that we're doing in-house. I said, okay, come on in. We did the voiceover here. And he said, there's a friend. He had a friend with him. He said, hey, he's got something to ask you. He said, I've got a recording of one of the wrestlers for the WWF, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Of course, I heard of that. He said, he said something. We've got a recording, but he doesn't say what we want him to say. I said, okay. He said, what we want to do is do a whole line of action figures and toys all around the WWF. But he's not saying the right thing. Can you do it? I said, okay, just leave it with me. So I did that. I altered it to be whatever he had wanted me to say. I forget what it was now. Gave that back to them. They went, and as a result of that, back to Jack Pacific up in Malibu, big toy person. And they were the master license holder for the WWF for creating this whole thing. And with whatever I did, that set the thing whole rolling. They got the job, and they got me in there as the expert to put this all stuff toys together. So they actually hired me to write a script about all the wrestlers.
Wow.
One little thing was I didn't know anything about wrestling, but I said, okay, sure. That's what I've always said in my life. Okay, sure. People give me this opportunity. That's great. And so I wrote a script. They ended up paying me $10,000 for it. I studied all the wrestlers by videotapes, everything, put it all together. I said, okay, now we're making toys. We're going to have them all record the scripts. You edit it, get it ready, put it ready, send it to Hong Kong. We're going to make all these toys. And it went on and on for years. And so I did tons in there. And that began my toy career. So then I started working with Mattel toys, Hasbro toys, DSI toys, Playmates toys, doing interactive dolls and things that knew what you were talking about. Amazing Amy, Amazing Amanda, lots of things. So I was kind of a toy king. I was doing these jobs, working kind of around the clock.
It's a snowball for success.
Yeah.
Right. You became the toy king. That's what it sounds like. Or king toy. Yeah.
So at that same time, I was doing the Barbie CD-ROMs.
Right.
CD-ROMs and video games for Mattel. They would bring the whole Mattel staff down here in my studio, and they have a multi-million-dollar studio up in El Segundo.
Oh.
And I'd go up there, but they may start a project there and then bring it down to me, and I would finish it here. Bring in the voiceover talent, help direct them with some other people, and record them, edit them, send them off to Hong Kong again.
Wow.
So at the same time, the World Wrestling Federation and Mattel toys, which two completely different things. And I was also doing forensics with the Hermosa Beach Police Department. So the captain of the police used to bring me videos, tape recordings. Hey, can you stop this motion, enhance this video, this recording? We want to hear what they're saying, slow it down, speed it up, for internal affairs and other domestic things.
You were one busy, successful guy. You're full of very versatile, all kinds of talents.
Yeah, they used to have there's an alleyway that comes down to my studio on the other side of this wall. And these big, 6 foot something policemen with guns would be coming down. My neighbors go, what's going on? What is going on down there? So after I did all those things for a while, it was kind of like, I need a break. So I took a break and I did some other things. And then I said, well, the toy thing was, okay, I called up one toy company and said, this was Playmates toys, not Playboy, but Playmates toys. They do a lot of toys.
Yeah.
And they said, what would you, okay, yeah, we'll do something. And they go, by the way, we have something up called King Kong is coming up. Would you want to be involved with that? I go, sure. What's that? And they go, well, the guy named Peter Jackson's going to do a movie with Universal we're the master license holder for that. Could you just blue sky? What would King Kong do? And, we have to develop some things. So I did a whole blue sky thing for them about King Kong. And then I ended up doing all these voices myself, creating the King Kong voice, many overdubs of me, different things, slowing him down. Some people put like lions and porpoises sounds, but it was all me. I put that all together, and then they said, okay, we're also going to need, some other characters. So I was Fay Ray in the background, screaming in a nice way. All those things, I put it all together for them, and even prepared little boxes that could play it. And they took it to the New York Toy Show. That's the big toy show in New York. Mm-hmm. And they played it for all the distributors like Target, who would that be, Walmart, all the big companies, Toys R Us. They went back there and they listened to it and they said, okay, great. We love these. We love the toys. We love it. So they came back and they said, okay, great. Now we'll just get to Peter Jackson. But they go, he's not ready. The movie's not ready. They're still in production. They go, what are we going to do? They go, well, they love Johnny stuff. Let's just go with Johnny. And Universal said, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. But Peter has to approve this. And everybody got really nervous. And they said, oh, crap. We're in a bind now, right? So they don't know. And they were really nervous. So they gave me, maybe they gave him my email or something like that. So anyway, it started going, okay, you guys just work it out. Just work it out. So a few emails went back and forth between us. He said, oh, get the King Kong more alpha male, okay, on that one. And I ended up doing all the mutant bugs, all the V-Rexes, not T-Rexes, they called them V-Rexes, and Brontosaurus and all these. And he commented on a couple of them, make them this one more alpha male and that sort of thing. And I did those final touches on some of them. And then Peter Jackson put his stamp of approval on it and everybody went, yay. So then I was the voice of King Kong in all merchandising for the film.
That's really something to be proud of. That takes a special talent. Not just anyone can do that. And you're able to, on the fly, even if you don't know something, you indicate like you do, and you'll figure it out somehow. You're able to research it and figure it out. That's
been my, the thing I always do is say, okay, yeah, okay, just go with it.
You have a great attitude. That's a positive attitude. Yeah, very good, Johnny.
Yeah, and that's how my film career started off too. Same thing.
Huh?
That I told you I was taking a break there from the film. No, it was before the break. It was the start of the film, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing, but this was I was going from music publishing. I was trying to get some music for the Commitment's second movie because I had my publishing company set up, and I said, okay, I had some songs myself that I almost got in the movie, but I said I want to go to some other artists that I know, personal artists around LA, Hollywood. And there was a group called the Hollywood Heroes. And I went to that guy and said, hey, his name was Gary Swan. I said, Gary, he played that big Hammond B3, some great R&B sounds. And I said, okay, Gary, you got a song? I'm trying to get him for this movie. And we talked about that. And after a short time, he said, hey, Johnny, why don't you come with me? I'm making a TV sitcom. We're going to be up at Santa Monica Studios, just south of Santa Monica Boulevard there. And you can be my co-producer. Wow. And guess what I said?
You said yes.
Okay. I said, okay. So what did I know about TV sitcoms or anything to do with that? Nothing. But I said, okay, great. So I went and worked with him, and we worked on that for quite a long time, did a lot of shooting. And I found out about how people have the budget problems and all that. And it's like, great. But that was a great experience. So I did that for quite a long time.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Did you ever do any actual television? Okay, you're a sitcom producer on that, but any other television shows did you participate in? If you did, what did you do?
Mm-hmm. No other TV shows. That was it.
That was it, huh?
But during that process, that's what got me into the film business. Because he said, a friend of mine's coming in from the Cannes Film Festival and he does films. So we went to visit him. And after a short time, that guy said, Johnny, why don't you stick with us? And we'll make you a co-producer, associate producer, different things on the films. And that's what started my whole film. So I said, okay, let's do it.
And what kind of films did you do?
That was That was at the GMT Sound Studio up on Culver Boulevard, just north of the Fox Hills Mall. They've got 6 sound stages up there. So they've got a standing prison set up there. And so it's a great little studio. But that's what started my film career right there. So I was in that for several years.
One thing's led to another. You're telling me. Wow.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about my whole career in kind of this way, but
Interesting. Very interesting.
Now,
there was a road manager for Paul McCartney that said you sounded just like Paul McCartney. What was his name? Mal?
Oh, right. Mal Evans. Yeah.
Mal Evans. That's the one. Right. Talk to me about that and describe all about that. How did you meet Mal Evans? And
yeah, I got to meet a few different people in my life, and that's one of them. I had a good friend of mine. His name was Lenny Walsh. He was an Englishman from Blackpool, and he liked that I was doing music. He tried to help me promote my music. And we used to go to the King's Head, which is a bar, they call it a pub actually now, up in Santa Monica, very famous. And everybody that comes from England wants to go there because they've got the daily paper that comes over on the jet, and they get that. And so it's really like hometown. So anyway, we'd go there and we would meet different people that were like the soccer players that were in Rod Stewart's soccer team. After they're playing, they would come down there. I never saw Rod there, but it was those guys. And when Supertramp came to town, all their players would be there, their roadies, and they would come by and having half and halves. That's half dark, half light beer put together. And then one day Lenny said, "Hey, come up, let's go up." And he lived up that way. I just drove up, and he goes, "Hey, here's Mal Evans. I just met him." "Oh, really?" So then we started talking with Mal, and that was the beginning of it. And we ended up, hanging out for a while, and we went to the beach with Mal,
really,
with his girlfriend Franny, and he was just a great guy. I didn't go into great detail with him, like, "Oh, how was it with the Beatles?" It was just great. We'd tell the stories that then we would talk about it. But I always felt like he was kind of, pushed out of that circle. In the early days, he drove around the van, so he was, part of the whole thing, right? But then later, they got bigger, but he was still down there,
That must have made you. How did that make you feel when he said he's liking you to sounding like Paul McCartney? How did that make you feel?
Yeah, that's like the greatest thing in the world. The greatest thing in the world. Yeah, but I remember him saying that. Just listen. He gave him in cassettes in those days. It was a cassette. He gave him a couple of songs there, and he goes, "Yeah, Roy, you sound like Paul. Yeah, you sound like his songs, and you sound like his voice." It was like, oh, great, that was fantastic. And then over time, when we would see him another time, I'd show him another couple of songs. And I never was like asking him to do anything for me, but at that same time, he had told me he was producing a group called. What was it? Natural Gas. Yeah, Natural Gas. And I didn't know who they were, but I still actually haven't even heard any of their songs. But he was at that time producing them. But he just said, "Oh yeah, they've got strong guitars. They've got strong guitars."
Oh.
And,
did you ever meet Paul McCartney, or have you ever met any celebrities at all?
No, not Paul McCartney. No, that's about my Beatles thing. So Mal anyway just encouraged me. Keep going, and just that thing, you sound like him, was great. So that was a great inspiration. Just a nice piece of my life. Yeah,
I read about Mal. He's not alive anymore. I think he had some type of accident or something. And
yeah, right. So, and I was there in those days. Yeah. So as I said, we saw him a few times, right? Get together and do some things. But then we got a call from Franny, and actually she called my friend Lenny, who was actually the real Englishman of us. I ended up getting an English accent hanging out so much at this King's Head. People would say, "Where are you really from?" People, my everyday people would say, "Where are you from? Where's that accent?" I go, "Oh, it's the King's Head. I've been there too long." But anyway, we got a call one day from Franny, and she said, "Oh, something's happened terrible." And then Lenny called me immediately and told me what she said. She said that Mal, he was upstairs at their apartment. There's an upstairs area. He said that he came down and said, "Well, that's it. I'm done." And he had been working on a book. Yeah, he had told us that he was working on a book about him and the Beatles and, their times together. I didn't, again, question him exactly what that was, but I just figured, that's what it was. And he came down the stairs. "So that's it. It's done. It's finished." He goes, the book, something caught her by surprise. And she said, "Oh, you mean the book is done?" He goes, "That's it. There's no more." And she thought this was very odd. So he went back up the stairs, and then she called the police.
Wow.
And so she knew something was up that wasn't right. And this room he went to, I was not in that exact room before, but Lenny was up there with him before. And he saw the pictures of the Beatles in their cowboy outfits. They used to dress up, have little promotional shots with guns and 6-shooters and cowboy hats. His room had stuff like that. So then she said, the police came and they started talking to him. They said, "Hey, come down, come down." And he did not want to come down. Some talk was going back and forth. And then eventually he came out with a gun.
Oh.
And I've since that read people say, "Oh, it was a rifle, it was a pistol, it was this." But I always assumed it was one of these like little cowboy guns from the Beatles pictures like that. Like he had a fun thing there because he was a very nice, gentle guy. He was not like a big gun holder guy. But apparently when he came out at the wrong time and the police saw this, they fired on him and killed him.
Oh, they probably thought he was a threat and they just killed him. Too bad.
Threat. And, but yeah, so that's what happened. And then
that's tragic. That was tragic. Yeah.
In the subsequent day to that, Franny called back again and said that she had spoke to John Lennon and that John Lennon was angry. He was mad about that. And he was going to be coming out here and doing something about it. Right. It wasn't right. So, but then after that, we never talked to Franny again. And she was just like, I don't know. What can I say?
I say it's too bad. That's sad. But anyway, there is a book about his experiences as a road manager for the Beatles. You tell me about that book and what it's about.
Yeah, and this memory of Mal, is back from 1975, I believe it was. So it goes back a long ways, and I've always, held that. And I've mentioned it to people before in my press releases and things like that on my different albums. And then I was contacted by Peter Hicks, and he said, "Yeah, we're doing a Beatles book, and we want to talk to you about Mal Evans." So first, what I do is I do research on this to see if this is a prankster or what's going on here. So I went and typed up their names and I found out, yeah, sure it was. Peter Hicks was working with Kenneth Womack to make a book, The Untold Story of Mal Evans. Oh. And so that was a real deal. So we went back. So then I contacted him on email. I said, "Okay, what do you want to do?" He goes, "Well, we'd like to chat with you. A little bit of an interview. Would you be available?" And so eventually we were able to get a time where I was available to do that. And it turned out to be a great interview. So they were interested in what I had to say about Mal, the different occasions I saw him, what we did, and, how he encouraged me. And then also, my insight of how he died, because actually they have different accounts of what happened that day. And they shared that with me that they did. So my little episode may have helped him a little bit, but they've done tons of research on that.
Well, it's a positive experience that you knew him and that he encouraged you and he sounded like Paul McCartney. That's the positive. The sad part, of course, is him, dying when the police thought he was a threat. And that's what are you going to do? That's the way it is. That's the way it ended.
Yeah, I really thought when he was producing that group, that it was really going to be, okay, this is really going to be the birth of Mal, right? He's coming out of this. I'm the little guy of the Beatles. Now I'm going to be producing more. He actually got credit for producing, though, I found out, for No Matter What by Badfinger. If you look at the production credit, he gets production credit.
Yeah. So a book came out, The Untold Story, and that's out. Where is that? Is that on Amazon?
Yep, Amazon. That's where you can get it. It was going to be due out in June, but now I see it's slipped to November.
Okay.
And I've since emailed Kenneth Womack, or Ken, whatever. And I said, "Hey, Ken, here's the new link to my album." My other link went down. And I said, "Well, you must be up late on the East Coast," because he responded right away. I was working at 1 a.m. I go, "Oh my gosh, it's so late over there." He goes, "No, I'm over in Liverpool right now." So they're just doing additional research. Kenneth was given permission by the Evans estate to get all of his diaries, all of his pictures, all of his unseen things by other people. So they really should have a lot of great things, but it's due out in November now,
That should be
2020.
very interesting. Another thing that'd be interesting if they haven't done it, or maybe they'll consider doing it in the future, is to do a complete film documentary on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that might be so. And my guy Peter,
He might want you to participate in it too, in that case.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and that because you never know what comes around, and Peter Jackson, who I was doing the toy for King Kong, did
Right.
the back Netflix series, right, of the Beatles.
Right, just like Tom Hanks' movie. Remember, life is like a box of chocolates. You never quite know what you're going to get. Hopefully, something sweet.
Yeah, right.
Remember
Just
Forrest Gump. Right.
keep flowing along with it.
That's right. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now you also have done some radio. I understand. You have some shows on all kinds of different radio shows in various areas. Talk to me about it. Describe the various radio shows, the venues where they're at, and all about the radio shows that you're involved in.
Okay, great. Yeah, in this world of promotion, you never know what's going to work, and there's no Bible that tells you what to do, or there are Bibles, but they don't. Everybody's doing them, so I want to do something different. So I created something I call a radio feature show, where I put the album, of course, recorded in MP3s, and I contact different stations, and then I eventually connect with a station that wants to do the show, and then I customize it. I put a show opening. I pre-record a whole thing where I talk about the album, I talk about me, put the whole thing together, and intro into the song and talk about what that song's about. And I do this for all the songs, and I put a show closing. I put together a pre-show primer that you play a week before the show. So I really put some thought into this. And then I do station IDs for that station too, make them fun, interest. Part of my songs are in them. Could be sound effects, just cool stuff. But so I've done that for in the UK. That's the one that just finished. In March, I think the 19th, and that went to something called the NUA show, and that NUA show actually gets syndicated out to 40 different stations. That show, really, it gets widespread that way. So that was 5 days a week, that was 7 days. 7 days of that, switching different radio stations all the time. So it's a great exposure. So that was my UK invasion so far. I may go back to the UK. I've got another station there. But this week, today actually is finishing Canada week. For Canada, I have 3 stations in the Radio Arcadia group, and 3 different stations: Radio Arcadia, Rainbow Radio, and Radio Relaxo. Rainbow Radio is LGBT #1 in Toronto. And Radio Relaxo is more relaxing station, and Radio Arcadia is a variety of things. So anyway, each 2 days a week, those stations are playing it, like a Monday and a Wednesday. The other's doing Tuesday, Thursday. One's doing a Friday, Wednesday. So each one of them has their own separate personalized show that I do for that.
So they alternate back and forth. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, so that's on 3 different stations there.
So you've got England, you've got Canada, and what other?
Yeah, so UK, and then next week on Thursday, I've got Mexico, stationed in Monterrey, Mexico, doing that show. Same things, personalized show for them, and they're going to play it for the south of the border folks.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we can tune in. But that's great, and I've done it before in Portugal. And I'm just talking to Luxembourg today. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but you guys have to wait to see. And then the United States, I've got one in North Carolina coming, and possibly one in Pittsburgh. So, they coming as online as they do, then I announce them and schedule them.
So these are special shows tailor-made for the radio stations. What you're
it's like a 1 hour show. It's a 1 hour show I'll put together.
1 hour show. Okay.
The Johnny Reed show.
Oh, I see. You create everything. You do it all. Wow.
But I can do on some of them. I've done call-ins. Call into the station while they're doing that. I've done, and
do you take call-ins yourself, or this is something you?
No. This is. No, it's on their station.
It's on their station. So okay.
like this, I could call in live and just say, hey, you know, what's going on, guys? Is a question. Was there a caller that called in with a question?
Oh, I see. You'll call them. Okay.
Yeah, I can call in that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes give away CDs or things like that.
So what's the most rewarding part of all of this? That's a lot of work, It's like you know what you're doing and love what you're doing. What's the most rewarding part of it, of these radio shows?
Well, it's great just to well, you can hear yourself on the radio. That's a big thing. It's always been a fun thing. You know, terrestrial or now internet more. That's always been a good deal. And just the fact of doing it, and just back in the days of Rock Dog, that's when I started doing it. I found out, and you don't always know what's going on. I'm always trying to catch up. I keep fighting to do things, and then I have to catch up. But I found out that on Rock Dog that I was on the College 500. I don't know if you can see this. No, I don't think you can see it. But it was the College 500, and I was number one for the spring of 2003.
You were number one?
Yeah, it was number one. And below me was Pat Benatar and, a few people. So that's my reward right there. I'm not the big, huge record.
So you were number one. What is this you're number one on? That's what I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the College 500 for spring of 2003.
Oh, it's a radio.
College 500. It's like a radio station, I guess. Yeah.
So you're number one on that radio station then. Okay.
Yeah. 2003 for that. So that was my paycheck for Rock Dog there. That I hit that. They never told me. I just discovered it on the internet. Which I never know. But that's
so many exciting different things that one thing leads to another. Great, Johnny.
Yeah, so that's my things. But when I was young and playing the drums right away, bands that were out were like Led Zeppelin, things like that. And I go, wow, how that's cool. You can just be creative and just put albums out. So that was what I loved. I said, that would be great. So guess what? I'm doing it.
You're actually doing. What's a typical day as a singer and songwriter? What is a typical day comprised of?
A typical day in my life as a songwriter?
Singer-songwriter combined. Yeah.
Let's see. Well, I'm more than just a singer-songwriter, but I am
Well, you're a multi-instrumentalist also. You're a creator, you're a composer, you're a producer. You're a little bit of everything.
Right. Yeah. So I guess what you would say is just an entrepreneur.
Right.
Where I did these forensic things or the toy business or the film business, whatever angle it's going.
Right.
I'm also a father. So I've got to be a father. So there's that's why I don't tour or anything like that.
Well, that's going to ask you about if you had any favorite venues for touring. You don't tour. Okay. So you don't do any in-person appearances?
Right.
No?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, I've sang for a couple of things. I write songs about different subjects. It's whatever I want. Like we were talking about, how do you write the hit song? Well, I've got a song called The Empty Chair about veterans and how they're forgotten many times. You say, oh, that was a good job, but they're not really recognized many times. So I've got a song about that. And so I have sung at some Veterans Day, Memorial Day service that they've had to honor them, that song. Yeah.
Would you say that they were large crowds or smaller crowds, and how many?
Small crowds.
Okay. Have you done any meet and greets or signed autographs at all? Any of these events?
No, not really. Not much like that. And the major reason I don't do that is it's not a secret, but I have two kids. My older daughter had a car accident, a terrible car accident.
Oh.
And she went into a coma.
And
I thought she had just broken her back. I said, how's her back? And they said, we're more worried about the traumatic brain injury.
Oh, wow.
And it turned out she was in a coma on every kind of tube you can imagine. Had a ventilator here, feeding tubes. They said her level of coma after two weeks or 3 weeks is so deep, she's not going to come out. So just prepare yourself for that. Oh. But you have to move her out of the emergency room and to a facility that can keep her, because she's not going to die. If we keep giving her this oxygen, she's not going to die. So that began a year-long hospital thing. Well, after 4 months of that thing, she started coming out of the coma. Her eyes were still closed. So anyway, this could be a long story, but I'll cut there and tell you that she did start to respond by squeezing my hand. Everybody monitored her very closely for a year in that hospital. But after 4 months, the first 4 months, then she did something. I said, Kelly, now if you can hear me, did that 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, do it twice. Aha, she's in there. And so this really has changed my life. Caring for her. And we've had caregivers, but I have been her caregiver. I'm the backup guy. When things go bad, I'm the guy. So that's why I'm not free to say, I think I'll go touring around the nation and hanging out.
You love your daughter. You don't have time for that. You're busy taking care of your daughter and doing your career.
But, I did involve something creative in her whole, which I think part of her recovery is first I said, I'm going to get something, take the messages off her voicemail machine and put it on a cassette tape and put headphones on her so she could hear people that left her a message. Oh, that was good. And then later I said, I did it on the computer and I ended up saying, hey, wait a minute, let me make this funny. I'm going to pretend like I'm the DJ. And I called it, her name is Kelly Reed. I'm going to call this KELY, 24 hours. This is the radio station, KELY. And these are callers. So I'd have that caller call in that voicemail call, which was just a file on the computer. And I'd have a phone ringing. You'd hear that sound and that people say, hello. And I go, hi, we got caller number 1 on the line now. Kelly, this is one of your friends for you right now.
So you're actually you're making it sound like it's a radio show.
Right. And after, and then I play a small bit of the Beatles, like you're getting better all the time.
Really?
Things like that. And I did many episodes. It turned into a whole big thing. And anytime I was there, I could put it on her and play that. And I would have other people, they had the whole set of tapes, or they could put them on and play them for her. Now, did that help her come out of the coma? I don't know. But it was a creative thing that I did. But I thought if she heard a human voice, like a friend that she knew, maybe that would be the thing that make you wake up and say, oh, hi, Michelle. Or, oh, is that my dad? Hi. Or my mom, or whoever it was. So anyway,
So what happened from all that? That sounded very promising.
That clamped down my life to be able to deal with this. But what it also did is in many of my albums, there are songs inspired by Kelly. And
did you write a song for your lovely daughter, Kelly, and her honor?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's one song called Such a Lovely Bird, which is totally about her whole experience.
Such a Lovely Bird?
Yeah. Yeah. Right here.
Really?
Let me see.
That's really interesting, Johnny.
I'm just looking for which album it's on right now. Hold on. My gosh. I've got too many albums here. I'm getting mixed up. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. Yeah, this is on Act 2, the Johnny Reed. Such a beautiful bird. Yeah.
Such a beautiful bird? Wow.
Yeah. But she has a broken wing. It's a ballad. It has some interesting things to it.
Yeah. So after all this is helping her progress and deal with her sad situation. It sounds like she's doing well from what you're telling me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's many songs like Live for the Day. I've got songs like that. Many different ways. So just that it makes you focus in on those things and just take life every day, every moment, because like that, things could change. That's what happened to her. Mm. So enjoy your friends and your loved ones and your job, what you're doing. Make it great every day.
Well, yeah, every day you're above the earth is a blessing because you can be here today and gone tomorrow. That's right. And you don't want to get older and say, I want to have, be, and do all those things, and I never did it. Do it when you can, when you're healthy, when you're happy, and you're capable of doing it.
Yeah,
you don't want to have any regrets. You want to say, you lived as full a life as possible and just experienced all as good things as you could. So that way, when it's over, you can say, I have no regrets, and I did everything my way. Because after all, we know that there is no encore, and there's no do-over. You can't say to God, could you please give me more time? When your time is up, and nobody knows how much time they do have. So You live each day as it was your last. You definitely do that.
Yeah, and on this new album, I've got well, the song that I'm really getting some good action is "Do What You Love." Now that was getting a lot of action on that one.
Well, great.
And yeah, that's you guys have seen the album cover probably before. I don't know if this was
Octo or Infinity. All right.
Octo or Infinity, yeah. That one and the ninth song, "Another Great Day." Today's gonna be another great day. So those are both same sort of thing, inspired by her and the appreciation of that. What I always pictured is myself sitting on a cloud. I passed. I'm up on a cloud. I'm up in heaven. I'm looking down with another angel, and he goes, "Hey, Johnny, did you ever do that thing you were gonna do?" And I go, I don't want to say, no, I didn't. I should have. He goes, "You should have done that. Why didn't you do that?" So that's why I try to make every day count. And
you have such a bubbly personality. You have so much charisma and chutzpah about you, Johnny. And you smile. And even when you're not sure about something, you always say, "Well, I'll do it. I can do it." You have such a great attitude. You end up figuring everything out. And it's a pleasure. It really is. It's really something. It's really inspiring and very motivating, Johnny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. Yeah. Like I said, that's what you just go with it. People do that. Take that opportunity and don't talk yourself out of it. I mean, any of those things that I've done that I could have talked myself out. Well, I say, I'm not qualified. I'm not.
Well, of course not.
Just take and go with it.
How, let me ask you, how, no, we know that nothing's always perfect and sunshine and peaches, especially in entertainment or anything else. How have you dealt with rejection and also even any performance anxiety? Have you ever had to deal with any of that? And how have you been able to deal with any of it?
Yeah, rejection that's something that happens all the time. I've been rejected lots of times, every which way. But I've read so many stories about things that, like the Beatles getting rejected when they came over here, and I forget the record was Decca, but the executives told them after they did their audition, they said, no. They go, the day of guitar bands is over. That is over. And, what you guys are doing now really has no future in it. Okay. Now, once you've heard that and you know what happened,
right?
Even the smartest guys didn't get it. I'm sure they were all smart guys. They didn't get it until it happened. Somebody got them. And there's been tons of songs or things like that where they said, "I want this song." And the artist says, "I want this song," on the record company says, "No, no, no, no." And then somehow they get it in there. And that was the biggest song ever. Or the B side was better than the A side. And so nobody ever knows until it happens. And they all say, "Oh, I'll take credit for it. I'll go for it." But anyway, so I see that. And that, I've had rejection before. People have said I was a great drummer. And then I remember somebody from the Edwin Starr Band, I forget, they said, "You are the worst drummer I've ever heard in my life." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I sent something to Elton John's producer. I'm not trying to think what his name was.
So how did you handle it? I'm sure nobody likes it. How did you handle it when you experience rejection?
Rub it off.
Just let it go in. It's like letting something go in one ear and out the other. Let it roll off your shoulders. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. And that was it. But he actually wrote me back from England. I'm trying to think what his name was. But he said, "Johnny, you're completely dreadful." I thought, okay, well, I wish hoping you could use a better word than that. But anyway, it was just.
So you probably agree with me. You probably say, well, if one door closes, then another door can open up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just keep on going. I mean, before the Beatles were the Beatles, there was no Beatles. There was somebody that, they came along, and then it was the right time. It's the right time. If you're writing sad songs, maybe you're not famous until a certain time when, people are ready for sad songs. Or
what about performance anxiety? Have you ever experienced that before you did any performances? And if you did that, how'd you handle that?
Not really. And I really haven't performed that much recently. Most of my time was in the studio, playing with different people, playing the drums, recording, things like that. So I didn't have too much of that. But yeah, I'm always nervous. If I do something, I'm nervous. When I sang at the Memorial Day things. Yeah, I think I actually messed up the words at the last Memorial Day too on the.
Oh, you did.
Covered up. I know the show must go on.
So and have you ever had a time where you had such a positive attitude, like you always do, and everything you can do anything you put your mind to, but for some reason, no matter how hard you tried, it didn't work out for some reason. Did you ever have an experience like that? And if you did, how were you able to deal with that?
Uh-huh. Let's see. I'm not sure what was it. Well, I've been married. I'm on my third marriage, so that didn't work out.
Third marriage. Okay. Wow. You don't give up. That's for sure. You're very persistent.
Yeah, and she says there won't be a fourth. She won't allow me to have a fourth. And she said I wouldn't have needed the first two if I would have met her.
How did you go about meeting as far as your different wives and your current one? How did you?
They all wanted to get married.
And where did you meet them? What?
Different places. I see the one was a bank teller. The other one worked at a place I was. And this girl actually was my name, Jessie. I better say her name, she'll kill me. Jessie was actually a caregiver that I hired for my daughter.
Is this the current one you have, Jessie?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we've been married 16 years now.
That's a long time.
So we have an 11-year-old boy.
That's something to be proud of. Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually the real Johnny Reed.
Oh, you have a Johnny Reed Jr.? Oh,
yeah.
Fantastic. Hopefully he'll follow in your footsteps, Johnny.
Yeah. My legal name is John, but we gave him the extra NY. So he's
okay. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you do great promoting. I see it all over. In fact, you had the ad for our show before I even got our promos going. That just shows you how your heads up. You're really very alert and very
Yeah. Back in the days when I was doing the rock dogging with KLOS and ABC, I started talking about was by the way approaching that as the record company. I wasn't telling him I was also the artist. And I said, yeah, we're gonna have our record in Tower Records. We're gonna do this and that. And they go, oh, are you an advertising agency? Guess what I said? Yeah. They said, okay, all right, well, you're going to get 15% off then because you're an ad agency. And I said, okay, great, fantastic. They did all the paperwork. So, you just kind of wing your way into things. Yeah, but promoting, I just did it naturally. Well, I remember when I went into Tower Records to get my album in there. I went to the manager came in. Again, I was as the producer coming in, I think, or maybe the record label, I forget. But I went and talked to the guy that ran Tower Records there in Hollywood. And after my conversation with them, I said I was going to be having ads on the KLOS. We got the posters, we got this and that. He said, okay, Johnny, you know what? We're going to carry your album. He goes, 1 out of 10 guys, could get that, but you got it. So
what is your secret for success, Johnny? Because you have so much confidence. It's such a great, fantastic, really positive attitude. It was, your smile, your enthusiasm, your charisma and charm. I mean, it's all over, and your talent, and you can feel you can do anything.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I remember a long time ago when somebody said I was trying to get my stuff into a record company, as a songwriter would, and they said, "I'm sorry, we can't talk to you. We only talk to publishers or lawyers, attorneys." I said, "Oh, okay. Well, guess what? I called back. Hi, this is Music Room Publishing Group. Okay, yeah, we'll put you right through."
I see. You're acting like you're a publisher, even though you aren't, just to get their attention.
Yeah, I had a publishing company set up already. So. Oh,
okay.
So just what do they want to hear? Okay, that's great. They put me through.
Give them something that they want to hear. Wow. Do you have any advice for any other singer-songwriters to aspire, or even producers, or anybody else to go involved in entertainment, the different things that you've done, whether working on radio shows, whether it be producing radio shows, or working in film, or even doing voiceover work, or whatever it is that you've put your mind to, you've been able to accomplish. So you have any kind of advice for people who want to consider doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I'd say be flexible. And flow with it. Don't be say you're too high above something to do something, and just say, oh, that might be good. There might be a benefit to doing that. And so that's what I've done several times, like from flip-flopping the TV, the film, the toy business, all those things. Just be flexible and flow with those situations, and give yourself the benefit of the doubt that, oh yeah, you can do that. Don't be afraid. Just go for it.
Just go forward and go forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I do.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, Johnny, do you have any Do you have any present projects right now that you're currently working on?
Well, right now I've got my cap on as the promotion part of the A&R of the record company. Right now, I've already got the product, but now I'm just getting out there, scheduling shows, and just there's no new project, but just like I'm getting the where that's the current Canada week, and then the Mexico is just penciled in there right now. But just kind of keeping track of all these things, keeping them going, doing station IDs for new stations. So that's kind of encompassing all my time right now.
I see. And do you have any? That's okay. That's okay. That's all encompass your time. Your radio promos. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And that I'm actually doing some show intros for some station called Brumside Radio in Birmingham, England. And they've asked me to do shows, so I'm making up funny, creative. They said I've done this before for other stations, and they said go wild, do whatever you want to do. It's always good.
Have you done any work for charities? Have you for charities at all?
No, not really. Just helping out. Like I said, this like the song for the veterans. That's just putting that song out there, trying to get some attention for them. I also did the same thing for the Native Americans. I got a Native American song that I made for them. Again, another overlooked portion of our country, and so that's the kind of songs I do.
Okay. Do you have any future dream projects you haven't done that you'd really love to do in the future?
I wasn't sure if I was going to do this 8th album. I was questioning, should I go back into film and do something there? I am still involved with that independent film industry too. Mm-hmm. But I did this album and it's pretty satisfying. So no, I don't have that exact thing I'm going to do yet.
You never know. Maybe you'll want to have a documentary about yourself done in the future. You never know.
Yeah. There's still other things I've done that we haven't talked about. I took a record production class, UCLA, back in the 80s with a guy named Nick Vinay. He was the producer of the Beach Boys.
I see.
So that was a great class there. We got to meet, in those days, David Gates was with Bread. He came in, told us what he did. Peter Asher came in. He told us all about what he did. And, with James Taylor and the president of Capitol Records. So I got with lots of industry people there, some top guys. And that was a great, cool experience, just dealing with.
If you had to do anything over again in your life or your career, would you do anything differently, Johnny?
Well, I would say I wouldn't change anything, or I wouldn't have my kids. And so things have gone pretty well. Right in my early days, I was going to move out of my house and move in with the group I was with. We were the original rock group. But it ended up I got married. So I was married at 19. Now, had I made that decision not to get married and live with that group, then I would have went a whole different way, because we were just about all to move in together. So that was a major thing. We had two Japanese guitar players. Well, one was the bass player, one was the guitar player, lead player. And the bass player didn't even speak English.
Really? So you don't have any regrets? You wouldn't do anything differently if you had to do it over again?
No, not really. In life, you never know. It's just a crapshoot. You just keep rolling with it. Where's the dice going to go now? And are you going to go there? Are you going to fight it? Or what's going to happen?
You're a happy camper.
Yeah.
Johnny Reed, you have had and continue to have a blazing, hot, awesome, spectacular, and very unique and satisfying life going forward. Keep blazing those trails. That's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I know you love it, or else you wouldn't be doing it with every fiber of your being. You're not forcing yourself. You're doing something that you really love in your mind, body, heart, and soul, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You get lost in that creative process. You can do what you want to do. And I remember back in the days of Cat Stevens going on the Midnight Special. I forget who did that, Wolfgang's or Wolfman Jack or something. Anyway, I would listen to him play whatever he was playing, and I'd say, "Oh, that's cool." I would go home and I wouldn't try to learn that song. I would just make some song that inspired me. I'd pick up the guitar, start playing and making words, and that's what I keep on doing now. Just being inspired. If you liked Led Zeppelin, I'd say, "Oh, I'm just gonna be that kind of an edgy person or a soft person like a Crosby, Stills and Nash, and just all that, just satisfy yourself with the studio. So that's what's so great. A lot of the kids that I grew up with actually got into drugs. Heavy. I didn't. And they always said, Johnny, how do you do it, man? And they go, you got that music. You got that music. We don't have anything in our life that like that. So, but several of them died.
Well, music is therapy for the soul and for the heart and soul. It really is. It's
yeah. So I don't do drugs.
Well, that's.
I was always kind of a little inspiration for some of those people that they didn't do that. Like, hey, you can still be rocking out, having a great time, be part of the party, but you didn't have to be into drugs.
You're doing the right thing. A lot of the greatest people, entertainers, unfortunately, got involved and addicted to drugs, and that's why they're not around anymore.
Oh yeah,
they got addicted to it. It got worse and worse, and then it eventually killed them. Not right away, but eventually it.
Yeah, and I saw an interview recently with Crosby, Stills and Nash, and he said, well, he just passed. We know that.
Right.
But he said, yeah, we took all these drugs so we could write all these great songs and everything. He goes, but now I'm wondering, did we really need those drugs? At the time, they thought they needed them, but now he says, I don't know if we really need those.
There's so many of them, the greats, Elvis, Michael Jackson, you name it. Tim Moore's in the Doors, John Belushi, so many, Janis Joplin, so many of them. Whitney Houston, that just goes on and on. I got involved, unfortunately, got addicted to the drugs, and it got worse and worse. And that was it. Before you know it, it ended up killing him. Yeah. So the old saying is, there's no hope for a dope. So if you're better off if you know something is no good not to do it.
Yeah.
Because once you get going, it's very, very difficult for people to stop and then correct what they're doing. It becomes a horrible addiction, which ends up killing them. So you're definitely doing the right thing. That's for sure, Johnny.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how can if people want to find out more about you, can you give me the links of the different where they can locate you, whether it be Facebook page or a website or IMDb or Twitter or Instagram or YouTube channel, any of those? Tell me the different ones.
All those things. Okay. So, my main website is pretty easy, johnnyreed.com, JohnnyReed.com. There is a Johnny Reed in Canada, but he's REID. So don't want the two. You want two E's. That's the key.
Okay.
So that's my site, and that's got links to everything. But I'm on everything. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, you name it, Bandcamps, Reverb Nation. There's so many of them.
Are you on YouTube? Are you on YouTube, but also IMDb?
Yeah, IMDb. That's got some of my production credits there for films and toys and audio books and things like that. So all the things I was telling you about.
And YouTube, you're on YouTube, right? Okay.
Yeah, YouTube, different things like that. Mm-hmm.
And Twitter, okay. Yeah.
So use on all those platforms. Time and sometimes I put in Johnny Reed Show. You might see that because that's just what I do. And I don't know if you saw that. Here, let me get that graphic. I don't know if you guys can see that graphic, but that was the wait.
Well, look at that. Yeah, that's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah. So that's me interviewing myself there.
Oh, really? Okay. You're interviewing yourself. Oh, okay.
Have some fun with it.
That's entertaining. That's really entertaining.
Yeah, so that's what I want to do. Have a little fun with it, and so it's an experience.
You know how to have fun. You're a man of many talents. That's what I've heard. And that's what our audience knows.
And what somebody said to me too, a DJ in UK the last album, he said, "Oh, so you're doing all this to save the money? You got all the profits to yourself." That's not really it. It's less of a headache. When the bass player is not sick, I am the bass player. I'm going to be here. The guitar player is not having a fight with the drummer. No, I'm both of them. I don't have a fight. Nobody's breaking up. We're staying together forever.
So what you're saying, you're self-reliant. You're independent. You don't have to worry about people calling in sick, getting hurt, or something else happening. Some kind of kind of beef somebody has. Right.
I was going to say I used to hire people in. I hired in saxophone players before, come in and play sax. Hired singers in, a girl singer to sing my song, a guy singer to sing my song, a guitar player to do the lead part. And then, they would leave and I would go, oh, okay, that's pretty good. Then what do I do? Is that it? I'm over? with my stuff, I can just say, "Hey, I think I'm gonna do that guitar part differently." Oh, okay. I'm gonna change the arrangement of the song. I'm gonna do this and that. So
in other words, you used to do it, but now you're happy. You're happy camper. You just like to do it your way, and you feel you don't need anybody to do that.
not really. Maybe it'll change. I actually just wrote some things to kind of a famous producer, and a friend of mine from Italy. That's a music guy in Italy. He's a friend of another producer, and so I just put some things out. So maybe something will happen. I told him I've never had a producer. I've had 8 albums, but I did them all myself. But maybe.
In other words, you're open to it. You're not saying, "Well, it's got to always be
Right.
me." You're open
Right.
to the
It
possibility.
can take me to a higher level. Actually, that's what I said to him. Maybe you can take me to a higher level.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
with that.
You never know. You never know. Now, you taught yourself the instruments. How about as far as voice go? You teach yourself voice also? Did you ever take any lessons?
Well, in the early days, I sang because we didn't have a singer. Nobody wanted to sing, so I was singing Foghat, and whatever, that was a group, Foghat, which is more like yelling or whatever, things like that. But nobody would sing, so I just sang, and it just kept having fun with it. By the time Paul McCartney came out, you could say you could sing one thing and sing another thing to it, and harmonize something. And
So you taught yourself. That's what it sounds like.
yeah, that's right. So now when I do harmonies, if you hear my album, it's not crystal perfect on things, but what I do is I'll have that first voice, and then I just harmonize to it, and sometimes that's it. I just do one take and I go, okay, that's it.
Oh.
I hit a special thing that I never planned out. I just thought about it. I didn't even hardly think about it. You just do it, and you just say, you go, oh yeah, okay. Hey, wow, that was great. What was that? I don't know.
What do you think about the talent competitions on television nowadays, like America's Got Talent, X Factor, The Voice, American Idol? What do you think?
Right.
You ever watch any of those, or what's your opinion on it? What do you think? It really helps?
Yeah, I've watched those before, and there's so many fantastic singers, but I think I'm kind of in the same, well, maybe lower, but if Paul McCartney with her, I'm not sure he's going to win. If Mick Jagger goes there, no, he is not going to win.
Well, they don't have to win. They've already succeeded.
I'm not that kind of it's not that kind of a thing for me. It's not a perfection, pitch perfect sort of a thing for me.
So you find it entertaining, and I'm sure you feel it helps talent, but it's not your thing. It's not for you, is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's why my songs, actually, I write them. It's not like I rehearse the song and then, hey, I think I got it ready. I'm ready to record it now. No, I go into the studio and I start playing around, and I develop the song and I do it. So that's the first time and the only time I'm probably going to play that song until, unless I went on tour. But these people that were over and over and over and over and over, then again, perform it every day and sing it just perfectly.
Is that something you may want to do in the future? Do you may consider going on tour? I know you can't now, or you're not going to, but
yeah, it's a possibility. Just all depends on how things, people come in and out of my life, and you never know just what that thing is going to be. If somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, Johnny, would you want to go ahead and do this with me?" It might be, oh, okay.
I see. So you're open. You're not saying everything's got to be always the same. Something else could come about. You're open to possibilities. Gotcha. All right.
Yeah. That end song on my newest album, I keep looking for these pictures now, but the 10th song is called "It's the End of the Beginning."
End of the beginning. Oh.
End of the beginning. That's the 10th song, and that song is about growing old. Oh. And as I've had different people in my life, 20 years ago, I had people say, "Johnny, don't you want to give up the dream? Give up the music dream." People give it up and they move on to something else, real estate or something, but they give up the dream. And I've had people say before, "Hey, Johnny, I figured out I got like 5,000 more days left." Oh, what's that mean? And I say, under my breath, I say, "Please don't tell me. I don't want to know this." Right. But people are telling me they've had their children, they've done this, they've really lived their full life, and they're, winding down to something. Oh. And I say, no, it's just the end of the beginning. Okay. And tomorrow could be a new experience, a new opportunity. And if you're open and ready, it might be the greatest thing ever.
Agreed. Yeah, that's right.
Might be next year.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Something that you least expect can happen. Something good can happen.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about. So that's why I say it's like you're, it's a start. It's like a new party. That's what the song says. It's like somebody just started a great new party and you're invited. Like, who are you going to meet there? What's going to happen at this party? You never know what's going to happen at a party. So, that's the way I look at things. So I express things I think about, and that's what that song's about.
Instead of it being final, the end, you're saying the end of the beginning.
It's just the beginning. You just finished the beginning, and now you're going.
And now you have bigger and better things to look forward to. There you go. Fantastic. Well, I think that's fabulous. That's amazing, and it's exciting, and it's fun, and it's very entertaining. And I love talking. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Now, Johnny, we have a treat instead of a treatment now for our viewers now, of all the ladies and gentlemen out there. So we have, we're going to blaze forward and present Showtime, ladies and gentlemen, with Johnny Reed. And so the very first song is not doing what you hate, but make sure you do what you love.
You can do what you want, do what you love to do something big, or do something just for you. Are you ready for fun? Why not do what you love every day? Go see your friends, go climb that mountain high, or just hang loose, or that thing you always wanted to try. I'm ready for fun, so can we do what you love? Well, there's no better time to let go of those chains, all of the things that other people arranged. Just follow your love and do what makes you smile. You know it deep inside. Do what you feel. You know what you love to do. Do what you dream. Whatever you want to do. Are you ready for fun? Don't forget number one. Why don't you do what you love every day? Do what you love. Do what you love to do. Yeah, do what you love. You know you've got to do what you love to do. Yeah, do what you love. Do what you love.
Bravo, Johnny. Do what you love.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed that, Johnny. I'm sure our viewers have too. Moving right along with the Johnny Reed Show. We have another song, Rainbows on Mars.
Traveling through outer space, will there be peace in the stars? Will we find rainbows on Mars? As we journey into deeper space, will we be together like one human race? Or will we fight for the land like we always do. Questions from the dawn of man. Are we ready to see who we are? Will we find happiness on Mars? What if we find there's nothing there? Will you accept it, or will you be scared? And if you find God, what will you say? Will there be rainbows on Mars? Will there be rainbows? I don't know. Will there be rainbows? Will there be rainbows on Mars?
And once again, hey, rainbows on Mars. Hey, very fun, very entertaining.
Hey, thank you.
You're welcome, Johnny. We have one more. And this one, it's called Girl in a Bathing Suit. Relax, enjoy. Have a blazing hot fun time, ladies and gentlemen.
Here comes a girl in a bathing suit. She's looking fine. She looks so cute. She's alright. She's alright. She's getting close. She's turning my way. What can I do? What can I say? She looks so fine. Yeah, she's alright. The girl's alright. She's just a girl in a bathing suit. How can she make me forget about you? She's just a girl. She's just a girl. She's just a girl in a bathing suit. She's not you. But the girl's alright. She's got me tempted, I'm here all alone. Da da da, I think I better go home tonight. Baby, tonight. She's just a girl. She's just a girl. And I've got you. You know she's just a girl that caught my eye for a moment. Just a girl in a bathing suit. Yeah, you know she's just a girl. She's just a girl in a bathing suit. She's got all the same parts, but she's not you. She's alright. Yeah, she's alright. No, she's not you. You know she just caught my eye. No, she's not you. No, she's got nothing on you. She's just a girl in a bathing suit.
Yeah, Johnny.
Hey, great.
Another great one. Another great, entertaining and fun and inspirational song. They're all unique in their own way. And I want to thank you, Johnny Reed, for being such a, as we get ready to wrap up the show, for being such an entertaining, fun, inspirational, blazing and amazing and fun guest with so much enthusiasm. And you love what you're doing, and you're doing it your way. That's for sure. And keep on blazing those trails moving forward, Johnny.
Okay, well, thank you, Johnny, for having me here on your show. It's been a pleasure.
Time has gone by very fast. It's been a pleasure here too. It's been mutual, Johnny. It's gone by very fast. Anyway, Johnny, as we get ready to wrap up,
Yeah.
I want us, and hang in there. We still got a few more things we're going to tell you about. We get ready to wrap up the show. I want to say to all my fans and friends, always keep a smile on your face and a song in your heart. Until next time, happy trails and blaze out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to be a guest on an entertainment talk show, please send us an email at amazingoriginaljbshow@gmail.com. All of our episodes will appear on YouTube and Facebook and receive over 3,000 views. Don't forget to sign up for our YouTube channel, and every guest will receive a complimentary DVD of their appearance on the show. Remember, we are much better than a podcast. And now, the amazing, original Johnny Blaze has just left the building. Good night. God bless.